Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for coming to the Red Lorry Film Festival, Take 2, curated by BookMyShow and brought to you by Book a Change. 15 years ago, a quiet yet powerful film landed in Indian cinemas, left an everlasting impact on audiences and filmmakers alike. Udaan was not just a film, it was a deeply personal coming of age story that resonated across generations, setting a new benchmark for independent Indian cinema. With its raw emotional storytelling, unforgettable performances, and a soundtrack that still lingers in our minds, Udaan became a symbol of courage and self discovery. It also marked the directorial debut of one of India's most visionary filmmakers, someone who has continued to push creative boundaries across genres. Please join me in welcoming this evening the director of Udaan, Vikramaditya Motwane. Vikram, let's go back to where it all started. Udaan was not just your directorial debut, but it was also a deeply personal film. So, what was the moment when you knew that this story had to be told?
The defining moment was actually I was an assistant director on Devdas, and we went to Cannes in 2002 with the film, and I saw this film called Sweet 16 by Ken Loach, who's a legendary English director. And I'd been toying with this idea of doing a coming of age film before that, and of course you're kind of going against the grain of the industry, because at that point in time coming of age means what, and the only reference point you have is you can either say Catch It in the Rye as a book, or you have to go 400 Blows as a film, and you know, to Indian producers they're like, huh, what are you talking about? So that was, it was tricky, and then but I'm still, so I was playing with the idea. I wanted to do something in that space, and something about breaking free, something about all the themes that are actually in Udaan. And when I saw Sweet 16, I was like, okay, it can be done. There's a way of doing this in the modern day. Why you can make it interesting and accessible, and this idea of a 16-year-old, 17-year-old person having agency and a dream, and and restrictions, and kind of like breaking through that. So that was the trigger moment. Then of course, then coming back and starting to sort of like work on the actual writing process of it.
Okay. So you spoke about Cannes, and the film premiered at Cannes in uncertain regard. One of the rare Indian films to achieve this. So what was that experience like for you? Like, did it change the way that you saw your own film?
Not really. I think in those moments you're just so tense making the film and finishing the film, and you have zero objectivity at that point in time. You know every single cut, every single sound, every single music note, every single flaw, every single grain of the film that's there. You know each and every moment in that film, and I think it's so hard. And even when you're announced as oh, you've been selected, and like, okay, for your first moment reaction is like, yeah, great, fantastic, and your immediate next moment is like, shit, we have to finish the film. So you're mixing and you're grading and you're doing so many things to just get the film ready. And then when you see it, yes, it's overwhelming, because you're at the biggest film festival in the world. And that year they had done this very special thing where on the marquee on the palais they had put up the names of all the directors.
Oh wow!
Who were actually in as part of in the
section,
in the official category, so
selection,
so like I in the official selection, so which includes competition. So suddenly I'm seeing my name next to Ridley Scott's name, so this huge kind of like, oh my god, I can't believe this is happening.
Wow.
Was there. But again, when the film screening, you're extremely tense. You cannot handle that sort of stuff, and then you finish the film and immediately you're like, was it okay?
I could have done this.
I could have done this. Yeah,
I could have made that cut.
Until I saw the film again recently, a couple of months ago. I hadn't seen the film actually in 15 years.
No, really?
I hadn't seen it, so yeah.
And
it's not bad, I have to say.
Yeah, you think? So featuring in uncertain regard in that selection, what did that do for Indian cinema at that time? Because it was path-breaking for all of us.
It was the first I think Indian official entry in Cannes in 7 years. It was the first one in uncertain regard in God knows how long. And it did make us. I think it helped a lot. It helped a lot with the way the film was perceived over here, the way the film was received over here. So, firstly, there was a perception of, oh, festival type film, but also the biggest festival in the world. So, therefore, there is a certain, okay, let's see what this is about. But because the film is in a certain way not a festival film, it's actually a very, very accessible, very commercial film. I mean, it's from my lens at least. I don't know about Bollywood, but and I think that it made people just wake up in this thing. And back then, because we're not in an age of social media as much as we are right now. Yes, we had Instagram, we had Twitter, but it wasn't like it is right now, where so when newspapers, when the Bombay Times has a picture of this team in Cannes who are there for this film called Udaan, people are like, "What is this film? What's going on over here?"
Right.
And I think that really helped it helped a lot in industry perception, in audience perception. I think.
So, over the years now, like you said, 15 years, Udaan has developed a cult following, especially among young filmmakers or writers that are starting out. When the film released, did you expect it to have that kind of long lasting impact? Or when you wrote it, or when you all were making it?
No. I think you just want, at that moment, you just want the film to get out there, for people to see it. And I think, and it holds true even today when you say, right, what does success mean to anybody? It's like, if I can make another film, that's success. If I can make it on my own terms, that's a lot of success.
That's
And if I can do that for the rest of my life, hopefully, then you've made it. So I think at that moment we were just, and because the film wasn't made with a studio, it was made privately, it was made independently. So our first stage was like, okay, we got to show this film, but you got to sell this film.
That's right.
UTV came on board very quickly. And then, of course, then you got to release the film. So at that point in time, the last thing on your mind is the fact that this is going to be. You can sense the reception. You sense the warmth in the reception.
Right.
There's always, but with every film, it's always like there's always a pessimism when a film releases, because you're like, we could have done this better, and the glass is always half empty. Half empty, half full, whatever, half empty. So there's always that pessimism of like, oh, we could have done better this, we could have done better that, the box office could have done this, it could have done that, we could have released this. So you never get to sense that, and then by the time it passes on, I think then it's many years later when people and when audiences come up and tell you how much they liked it, how much it meant to them. I think that's when you realize
The impact.
and the significance of it.
Nice. Now, of course, one of the most striking aspects of Udaan is the father-son portrayal and breaking free from oppressive environments. But do you think that stories like this are still underexplored in Indian cinema?
Yes, I think they are underexplored, but I also kind of question today, especially, like, whether a film like this could even be made, even be greenlit by
You think it wouldn't
anybody.
today?
I don't think it will today. I think the idea of doing family dramas or just dramas or adult dramas in a certain sort of sense are kind of like not really there.
Okay.
And I think that we were in a time and place when the multiplexes were booming. People were looking for alternative movies. And I say, I don't use the word content because that time it was just movies. You just needed to watch movies apart from the multiplexes were there. They needed films to kind of run in their theaters. I think there was a time when the audience was ready to just like not only watch the single screen type movies, they wanted to break out. And I think, there was me, there was Dibakar, there was Zoya, there was Anurag. Few years later, you had Neeraj Gevan, you had Abhat Masurkar, you had many filmmakers who came and put there, and all theatrical, all Chaitanya Tamane, all theatrical. So different time, and I think kind of like different time now. So and then I do think, yes, in a sense, the family drama has been a staple of Indian television a lot, at least not so much in the movies. So it's been there, but yes, I don't think it's enough, explored enough in the movies. I don't know how much it will be.
Right, and even with the distance that we've traversed with films and OTT now, OTT being such a big part of our lives, you don't think Udaan would have been greenlit today?
I don't think so. I think the same problems that I had back then is what I have right now. Even then, I mean, when I went to what was very heartening was I would go to producers and they would be like, "Oh, but you need a love story in this film," and I'd be like, "But there is a love story. It just happens to be between two brothers." You need a girl, or you need this, or who's the father? And I had an answer for everything. They're like, "Why can't you cast a star as the father?" I'm like, "Because then it's not the father's film.
Yeah.
It's not his film. It's the film of the boy. And if I cast a father, you're going to put him on a poster, and that's just wrong. That just gives a wrong impression. Why can't you cast a son as why can't you cast a star as a son? I'm like, fine, find me a 17-year-old star, I'll cast him. Find me an 18-year-old star, I'll cast him. I have no problem with that. But that was a struggle, and then got very lucky because Devdi released and Anurag, had people who were willing to back films with him, and that's how it happened. So it got made. Even today, I think the film would, if it had to be made, I would have to make it privately. I wouldn't be able to make it with the studio. I think the studio would be asking me the same questions they asked me back then.
Yeah. And in fact, Anurag just mentioned that even if Adolescence got made in India, it wouldn't be greenlit.
Yes, that is.
He was just talking. And of course, we have to come to talk about the music. I mean, Amit Trivedi's soundtrack literally became an anthem of rebellion and freedom at the time. So, how did you collaborate to create songs that actually felt like an extension of Rohan's journey?
I think Amit and me met for the first time. I had never met him during Devdi. And then I met him once Anurag called me and says, I've got money, do you want to get this film made? I'm like, yeah, 100%. And then he sent the script to Amit. Amit called me up out of the blue, said, I've read it, I've loved it, let's chat. And then when we chatted, we realized that we share so many of the same influences. We both love Pink Floyd, for example.
Nice.
Or the same kind of, similar kinds of music. And then I write with a lot of music in mind. I write with a lot of references.
When you're writing the story?
There's always a sense of there's a sense of, or when you're writing the story, or in the screenplay, or afterwards, there's like a certain song will be in a certain place, and those kind of things. So I would always I'd make Amit listen to those of what was in my mind, and then he would get the mood that I'm trying to hit, and then he would go and do his own thing with that. So with Amit, is like all he needs is the emotion of what you're trying to achieve, and then after that, he's magical after that. But once you get that emotion right, then he knows what's required.
Oh, wow. And since Udaan, of course, your journey has been fascinating, from Lutera to Trapped and Jubilee and Control. How has your approach to storytelling evolved over these last 15 years?
I don't know if it's evolved. I'm just happy making things. I'm happy making movies. I'm happy making series. I think it's a good time to mix it up. You don't have to stick to a certain format. You can do series, you can do movies, you can do all kinds of stuff, and I think that you're allowed to experiment a little bit. So yeah, I just like there's a story that interests me. I like to make it, or I like to develop it, or I like to so. And then so I think doing a bit of both. Stuff for streaming, stuff for theater.
Okay, mix it up. You said that you saw Udaan a few months ago. You found anything you wanted to change? Something you do differently?
My only reaction when I saw the film, then I was like, there's too many close-ups in this film, which was a very kind of like macro kind of thing. But in certain films, I think. I don't know. I think once you've done it, it's like today would I make the same film? Probably not. But I was the person I was then, and then therefore that was
the film that came out at that time.
And the only thing is like, okay, what would I do? Would I make it shorter, longer? Not really. Would I change somebody in the film? Not really. So I think that this film, I would just it's like it's flaws and all. It's good. Yeah, it's nice.
But that's what makes the imperfections is what makes the journey whole. Yeah. And when you were filming it, was there a point, or was there something that touched your heart, or a moment, a scene, or a line that moved you, or some point in the filming when you thought that, yeah, this is special for me?
I think that there's a I mean, has everybody seen the film before? There's no like first timers, right? Beside the little girl over there. Oh wow, first timers up there. Really? Wow.
But look how young those kids are, Vikram.
Wow. Okay, fun. So okay, I won't spoil it then, because there is a moment in the film where it's for those who've seen it, they'll know it. It's Ram Kapoor behind a door. Yeah. Towards the end of the film.
Yeah.
When I was taking that shot, and I put that shot up, and I was like, something just happened in that moment. You're like, and you suddenly feel that, okay, I'm doing something very special. And for those who've seen the film, they understand the shot. They know which one I'm talking about. So there is, that was the moment in the middle of shoot where I was like, okay, this is nice. It's fun.
Yeah.
And the jogging scenes. I think every time we did those jogging shots, we were like, this is so cool, this is so much fun. Just this like making these people run and like that kind of stuff.
Any story that you remember, an incident that happened from set or from filmmaking that stays with you today?
Oh, there's a very famous one. I don't know how many guys know, but Rajat breaks Ronit Roy's nose at some point in time
Yeah.
in the film.
Yeah.
And also there's the big, again, not really a spoiler, but in one big running sequence, Ronit actually tore his hamstring,
Oh.
and the poor guy had to like literally like ice it after every take.
Oh my God.
And yeah, and interesting stuff.
Oh, nice. So, lots of kids in the audience, I'm sure lots of aspiring filmmakers, writers. What's the one lesson you think that applies to every storyteller? What can they take away from Udaan for you? Piece of advice, however you want to phrase it.
Advice, my God. I guess it's look and I didn't know this. I mean, it was when I wrote the film. I think I was 26, 27 when I wrote the film. By the time I made it, I was 32. And I was making it in Jamshedpur, and it's a story about a guy who wanted to get away from Jamshedpur. And I was in Jamshedpur thinking, this is actually a pretty nice place. I could retire here because it's got golf courses and nice houses and stuff like that. It's only once you write it in passion, you write it in a lot of anger and a lot of passion and a lot of emotion, and then it's only later on that you realize the fact that what I was really trying to say with this film is, and it's more to parents, not so much to children, is that you're always there for your kids when they fall, but if you don't allow them to run in the first place, then really, what is that? And I think the film, in that sort of sense, was trying to sort of like just do this. I realized that that's what I was trying to say, which I only realized much later. But for filmmakers, it's the standard stuff. Yeah, just keep writing, keep doing stuff, keep believing in yourselves. I think that's a very, very important thing. The whole world's going to tell you that that don't do this. It's not, and it is a struggle. I mean, to be honest, I was an assistant director from the time I was 20 years old. I made my first film when I was 32, which I thought was a long time. And it does take a lot of hard work. It takes a lot of perseverance, and that we all know that. But one has to, if you're really in it, you have to persevere. I was very lucky in the fact that I actually had parents who were very, very supportive of me. So hopefully, you guys can find a sense of support. But I think
Keep writing.
keep writing.
Keep doing what you love. Any quick questions? We have time for 2 or 3 questions. Yeah, go ahead.
So when you started writing the screenplay, what was that point where you felt now is the time to start shooting it? Then any appropriate point where you identify that the screenplay is good enough that I can take it and push it?
That's always the case when you write your first draft. Hopefully, when you finish your first draft, you're ready to shoot it. 3. So I wrote a first draft, I wrote a second draft, I wrote a third draft, which I hated, and then I went back to the second draft, and then finally the dialogue draft, and then that was it. I know a lot of people do 10 drafts and 20 drafts and stuff like that now, but I just felt, sometimes you lose objectivity sometimes. It's not that you're not working, you're thinking about it all the time. You're always thinking about it, you're always tweaking it in your head, and you're trying to figure things out. But I think the more drafts you write, the less objectivity you have eventually, and I've seen this happen to people. I've seen good scripts, good first drafts lose their bite by the time draft number 10 comes along. So I was trying to keep myself objective. Though interestingly, the what you're asking, it's not so much about when your script's ready to shoot. It's when you're ready to write it. I think with what tends to happen is that, look, filmmaking is and the filmmakers here will know this. When you work on post production, right? The film's ready. That's it. That's what you can. So all you can do is you can do the best of what you've got on a fully ready cut film, and you do post production. When you're editing a film, you can do the best of what you got with the footage that's been shot. When you're shooting a film, you can do the best of what you got with the script and with the budget at your disposal, and how much money you have, what your casting is, what the day is like, how quick you go, does it rain, does it not rain. There's all these factors that come into place, and you do the best you can in that. But when it's writing, all you can do is the best you can do is based on the fact that, okay, I know this film is going to reach out to this audience, therefore it should be made in this much money, and that's it. Everything else is an infinite factor. So how do you know when you're going to do the best you can? How do you know when to start? So for me, the toughest thing is when to start writing. It's not about it's not about afterwards. It's like something will be in your head for the longest time, and you'll be thinking about it, and you'll be like, what's my opening? What's my opening? What's my ending? What's my middle? What's my theme? What am I trying to say over here? When you find that is when you start writing, and I feel that's always something that you will instinctively. So in Udaan's case, it was two things. There was I knew what the story needed to be. Three things actually. So I knew what the story wanted to be. I knew it was like, okay, it's this father's son, it's his son and his younger stepbrother, and that's the relationship. And one person once when I was very resistant to narrate the story to them, and they made me kind of like narrate it to them. This is senior cinematographer. We were sitting in Kerala somewhere, and he said, great piece of advice. He said, bring your protagonist into the story. He said, don't let him be as part of this milieu in the beginning of the film. Bring him in. Let him enter the story as an outsider, and now you've got something that he discovers by himself. So with the audience discovering it, he's discovering it also. So I thought that was great advice. The second thing was trying to find the right tone for the film in the beginning, and I struggled with it until I was sitting with my mom one day, and she happened to mention the fact of, or I was sitting with my dad, I forget who it was, but the opening is actually my father's story. The opening 10 minutes is literally my father's story. I actually happened to be in boarding school. And so I was like, oh, this is interesting. So I just took that and sort of like made that as the opening of the film. Everything fell into place. And then the third thing that happened was that I was at a friend's place and Indian Ocean was there, and they were playing this song called Bhor, which literally set the tone for the mood of the film. It's like I heard that day, and I think I literally the next day is when I started writing the film. I'm like, that is the mood that I want to hit in this film. That's the tone I want to hit in this film. So you'll find it somewhere. You have to keep working on it. You'll figure it out at some point in time. But so essentially it's like when to start, because that's very crucial. You start too early on a film, you haven't taken it to its full potential. Start too late on writing a film and you've overthought it, and now you're just like you're stuck in a place where everything is not fresh at all. So it's that perfect timing is, I mean, at least for me, is very, very important. You will feel it inside.
Dil se aana chahiye. Anyone else? Yeah.
Congratulations. We are all here celebrating Udaan as an iconic film. And now, 15 years hence, in the present, do you feel, not in terms of, making anything perfect, but in terms of the storyline, would there be anything different if you have to make it again today that you do?
I would probably make it differently again today, because I'm a different person than what I was 15 years ago or 16 years ago from when one made it. I think I was far more naive then, which I think is a good thing. It's a very naive film, and I think it's a good thing that I was actually sort of like naive. Today, one would probably be a little less indulgent in some scenes, and a little less emotional about certain things. I think that me was nice. It was good. It was fine. Thank you.
Last question. Anyone? Yeah, go ahead.
Did you make this movie more for yourself or more for others? As in, was it something that you wanted to express and put out in the world, or was it something that you felt that people should connect with and should, like, this is the way that life is meant to be lived?
It's a bit of both. You're as a filmmaker, as a storyteller, you're dying to express yourself, right? That's your key kind of like, you yearn to sort of say a story in whatever form you can. So it is that. It's also, and I think that it's the test of like, you keep saying that I want to be different. I'm not Bollywood. So now the ball's in your court. Now be different. Now say something. So it's a bit of both. A lot for you. Mostly, I guess, to sort of like, and I think again, because there was no studio involved in this, I think one went into this film with a whole bunch of new people. My actors, except for Ronit and Ram, were all new people. My crew was actually like literally there were so many of them were doing their first films, or first or second films. We were all just like went to this sort of like small town in Jharkhand and decided to shoot this thing, thinking in the end of the day, worst case scenario, what will happen is that this will become a showreel for all of us. That I'll be able to show the world that, look, I can make a film, and my crew will be able to say, look, that they can do this, and amazingly, all of them have done so well in their lives afterwards. So yeah, in that film at least, I mean, in Udaan at least, the intention was that let's just get this film made. for me personally to express myself and then see.
So I guess you should just be honest, and then the crowd is going to perceive it well if you're authentic with
You
what
must
make.
always be honest. That's a given across the board. Like always be honest first to yourself, and to the story, and to your craft. Like that's really really important. Like if you don't, that's something that I stick to even today. I mean, I may be a little bit more experienced as far as the worldly part of filmmaking is concerned, a little bit more. So maybe slightly more cynical or whatever it is, but at least your work has to be honest. You have to be very very honest with your work.
Thank you
Last
so
question.
much. Thank you for this film. Thank you.
Thank you.
The last question from the back, please.
So, firstly, congratulations on this film. It's very special to all of us. And I just wanted to ask you, how did you narrow down on the location? Because I am from Jamshedpur, and even in Jamshedpur, there are a lot of different places where you can actually shoot because it's very scenic and green. But how did you actually end up narrowing down on the locations?
So overall, Jamshedpur actually it was Imtiaz's idea. I had written the film for Delhi and like satellite towns of Delhi, and then Imtiaz read the script and he said, "You must go to Jamshedpur. You must sort of like go meet my family, see stay with them, see the film. I mean, see the place and stuff." And then locations is basically going on the scout. Yeah, I think the whole Tatanagar part of it is so pretty and it's so it's so interesting. And yeah, I mean, we can talk about Jamshedpur. I was again as a history student, just like someone like a fan of anthropology. I think it's very interesting. It's such a young city in terms of its age, like a little bit more than 100 years old. Which is not. So you can actually sort of sense how it was built and where the blue collar would have lived and where the white collar would have lived and how like the houses would have been built, and it's quite fascinating. Yeah. So and also very pretty. It's also built in that nice old factory town style. Yeah, so.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much for all your questions. Thanks. Vikram, thank you for taking us back to Udaan. Thank you.
Thank you.
And
Enjoy.
Go ahead.
Enjoy the film. Enjoy the film.
Thanks for sharing all these incredible insights. And here's to many more years of Udaan inspiring new storytellers.
Yeah, we'll be back in 10 years at the 25th year.
Thank you guys so much and enjoy Udaan. Thank you.